Hi, this is Kate at My Wayfaring Dreams. Here's part 3. The meat's in here. Got about 14 more minutes. That's under pressure, and then I'll let the pressure off and add the rest of the stuff. Had to do some dishes. Because what I had started to say, I think, in the first video is the overhead light in the kitchen's out. So I didn't do much cleaning yesterday. Of course, it was also Lazy Sunday. But yesterday afternoon, Paul was going to install the new ceiling fan to replace the old one in the kitchen. And once he got up in there, the old wiring is still wrapped in cloth. And it's just disintegrating. It's just brittle and touched something that sparked. I mean, it didn't really cause the power to go off, but this house is so old, and I do believe that when it was originally wired, you know, that was before all the modern things like microwaves and ceiling fans and all that stuff. And as previous owners did those things, they did not change out the wiring. So Paul, in a little few places where he's had to replace a couple of outlets, has modernized that particular outlet, but there's my veggie bowl. Anyway, big majority of the house is not been modernized, and so nothing is on like, I don't know, modern houses. A lot of times you have like one quadrant of the house will be on a certain circuit, or all the lights are on a certain circuit, or a couple of rooms are on their own. We turned what was once a regular bedroom, it has 220 now. Paul made it into a laundry room years ago. So, I mean, I believe that's because, you know, there was no 220. But the dishwasher, I'm not sure what circuit it's on, but I wasn't going to try to run it and not know and pop something while Paul was sleeping. So we have a hurricane light that we've moved in here, and using it for light, and I mean it's daytime, so I don't like turn the lights on. But so I washed up some dishes by hand, and yes, I peel potatoes the old-fashioned way. I do have potato peelers, and I know people who never ever use a paring knife, but I grew up peeling potatoes, so led to the steamer. So I've just always used a paring knife. I mean, to me, it feels kind of awkward to use the little peeler. I don't even use it on carrots. On carrots, I have a really coarse vegetable scrubber, and I just scrub them, and the top layer comes off. But really, as long as your vegetables are clean, you don't necessarily have to peel them. These I'm just peeling because there were a couple spots, and since it was going to be on camera, and I know how people go, oh my god, you got to get the eye off, you're going to poison yourself. Anyway, yeah, you know how many eyes you would have to eat to kill yourself? But anyhow, since I only had a few, and I'm going to have to peel the rest that's anyway, it's kind of more of a uniform look, instead of having red potatoes with skins, and then russets that I'm just cutting in half. Like I said, I'm not doing a lot of potatoes. More for me, because I like potatoes, but we don't eat a lot of potatoes because of the high sugar content and what they do to your blood sugar. So anyway, the meat's at 11 minutes now, and we are still feeding the mama kitty. That's when Paul showed up earlier. He had seen it on the camera that she was out there, and because I was using my phone to film, I only have that camera set to the iPhone 10, so I was using that to film, and of course it didn't beep and let me know that she was out there. I had just been out there and she wasn't, so anywho, we're trying to keep her well fed since she's nursing babies, and this is her home. Paul, bless his heart, he's like, the other day he stuck his head in my room, he's like, I'm just dying to see kittens. He is a big soft. He, you know, likes to call me the cat whisperer, and then I'm the mama, and wants me to do the feeding and all the nurturing, but he's out there sometimes, well, most often more than me, you know, cooing at him and talking to him. A new cat stray has been coming up at night, we've seen on our camera. it has a bit of a droopy belly, more like, you know, cats get after they've been fixed. But I know that there's a whole colony of ferals been living over as the neighbors, and I know none of them have been fixed. So she may just be also pregnant, and somehow she's heard through the neighborhood cat grapevine that, you know, Paul's maternity ward has a nurse on hand and provide you with all your maternity needs. But Paul sent me a text in the middle of the night when I was asleep, because of course he works nights. He said, I think she's pregnant, you have to name her. He never wants to name things, and sometimes I feel like I'm just running out of names. But I decided to name her Tabby. I mean, she has a Tabby, but, you know, it was that or Rhonda. And then I thought about a Rhonda that I really didn't like, so I decided to stick with Tabby. To be short for Tabitha, but it's just short for Tabby because she is a tabby cat. So, you had seen that I had added garlic, and I also had added a small onion in there towards the end of the meat braising itself. I'm browning just because I like to have some of that more caramelized, slow cooked, longer cooked onion flavor, if that makes sense. I'm sure if you're a cook, you know that at different stages of whenever you put onion into a dish, you're going to get a different onion nuance to it, per se. So when I do onions, like I'm doing this one, when I put the veggies in, it gives you an onion more the consistency of what you, and flavor that you get with a roast. Because this is like a roast recipe, but I'm not doing it like a regular old pot roast. And it's a pork roast, the other white meat. I always use a pork loin. I usually buy the pork tenderloin roast because, I mean, they're smaller. There's just two of us. We don't eat always eat a lot of leftovers. And I just like those so much more tender. Paul grabbed this from the store for me the other day. He had remembered actually that several days before I had mentioned getting one. So this is just a pork loin roast, but it looked really good. Had a decent layer of fat on one side. And because I cut it up and I pressure cook it, oh, one potato had tried to escape. It was on the other side of the pressure cooker. Save me, don't let her cut me up. But anyway, I'm gonna cut it up anyway. It's a little more potato, but I'll eat on it for several days. And this, I often use beef broth, which I have some, and I might use what I have left in there when I put the veggies in. Because typically you add a little more liquid. Some people, the recipe calls for part broth and part water. But as this isn't a beef roast, I don't know, maybe it's just a habit, but I have to do things my own way. I mean, I'll follow a recipe to the point. If it's something I'm baking, sure. You know, something that really depends on exact amounts to, you know, make it rise or make it taste right or have the right texture, okay, I will follow directions to the T. But when it's stuff that I keep the trash across the kitchen away from where we keep the dishes. Yeah, it's just a thing. But if it's something that I've cooked my whole life, like a roast, meat, some veggies, and whatever, then I'll kind of play loose and fast with the Clorox Cleanup. Love it. Not sponsored by them. Speaking of, hopefully eventually I'll have enough subscribers. I know it's kind of tacky to refer to you guys that way. And I will be able to monetize, and maybe I'll advertise a few things. Only things that I would use, and that I would use often enough that I would feel comfortable promoting them. Because there's things that I try and I use once, and it's not that it's bad, it just doesn't really trip my trigger. Why not use it again? And so I don't think it's fair to promote something that I'm not going to use, but to try the one time and then just, we're all different that way. So, blabble for another 5 minutes before we start this next issue. Get all the veggies soaking in nice clean water. Oh, yeah. them in a minute. Keep them crisp and fresh and potatoes from going brown. Ooh, that's my drink, yeah. So I'm going to dry a few dishes here. I'm going to bring up a subject. No, I'm not going to bring it up today. One of the reasons for starting this channel was also to give people and myself an outlet to discuss depression, and a place for those of us who have fought with it and still battle with it, and who really don't have a lot of people to talk to, or maybe don't feel we have a lot of people to talk to, could talk to each other. Kind of see that, you know, other people are just plugging along, getting by, you know, doing our thing. And I was going to have a nice long talk about it. I've been meaning to since I started the channel, but every time I sit and think about what I'm going to say, because I don't like to do things scripted, I have mucho huge anxiety attack. The other day I sat for an hour in my swing. It was a beautiful day. I wasn't enjoying my swing or the garden because I was too busy going through the anxiety of talking about it. And that's very common, you know. It's not something anybody wants to have. It's not something that people, I've heard people say, oh, they're just being depressed because they want attention. Really? Do you think of all the ways to get attention people want to be depressed? You can bum yourself out, but you can't make yourself truly depressed. You just can't do it. It just happens. And I was diagnosed late in life. I probably had it my whole life, along with some ADD, which actually both explained a lot of things I had gone through in my life and pains, because I did a lot of things very impulsively. And I got bored with things and people really easily. And I grew up in a generation where you never heard of the word ADD. I'm not really hyper because I'm considered a bipolar mixed episode, kind of a little bit of one, a little bit of two. So I used to have really crazy manic moments, but not anymore. Ooh, look, my hands are all wrinkled. Broken a bunch of nails, gardening. Anywho, and it's really something that's hard for me to talk about. I had such an anxiety attack the other day. I had to tell Paul I was having an anxiety attack, and I had to share it with somebody, and he doesn't always get that, and then I was upset. And so I'm not going to get way far into it because I'm cooking, and I don't know how prepared I am for saying all that. You know, I don't really necessarily want to describe my issue with it. But, you know, that's part of the importance of sharing, you know, that we all, you know, everybody who goes through it, you know, has different coping mechanisms. Dang this. Alright, I'm trying to loosen. Oh, I don't want to show any of this messy kitchen. We have a horribly ugly kitchen. It's one of the first rooms I want to have redone when we redo it. Okay, we'll leave it there. But, anyhow, okay, the depression thing. See, I easily get distracted. I, of course, haven't taken any ADD medicine today because I want to pig out. And it does affect my appetite a little bit. But it's Monday, and I'm like, what do I have to focus on? But anyway, I was late in life. Oops, there it goes. So a lot of it's only a few years new to me, the actual diagnosis and actually knowing what the issue is. But, you know, it's an everyday thing. I don't think about it every day. And I have luckily been on I have 2 medications I take in a low dose. And together they keep down my anger, which just goes off the hook. Can't wait, depression. And a lot of the anger is focused at myself, and anyway, it sucks. But I promised to try to talk more about that because that's what we were. This channel was actually started for, to give people my age and other people a forum. There it goes, and that only takes a couple minutes. And I think I am going to add the last of the beef broth. Just as an extra little zing of flavor. It's not an organic broth, which I use everything organic, but I do remember when I particularly bought this one that they were out of the organic. We only have the one small store unless you want to drive to the beach, which I don't want to drive to the beach. Uh-oh, hold a second. Easy. See, it's quickly almost done with its pressure. And so whether I add more liquid just going to depend on how it looks when I look inside. But there's a little red button here on top. You have to wait for this little red button here to go down. And that means all the pressure's out. I really like this pressure cooker. Done soup in it. I've done, of course, the roasting carrots a lot. A lot of times I just add a shit ton of carrots and don't add any other vegetables. Leave that open. Just better make my drink. That's kind of curious there on top of the microwave. Let's see what we got in here. So, sorry it's dark, but it's bubbling away. It's looking good, kind of where I wanted it. Add a little beef broth. I might add a little more Worcestershire. I did a pretty good dose of it earlier. I'm actually just going to add enough to cover the meat. Okay. I'm going to add my veggies. You know, when I make a regular roast, there's a certain way I layer and put veggies in because, you know, certain things cook at different times and all that good stuff. But with this, I really don't. I do try to tend to put some potatoes on top. That way they don't get too, I don't know, immersed in the liquid, if that makes sense. And maybe less mushy, I don't know. It probably doesn't really make a difference, and it's just one of my quirky things. But, there we go. And this will go in on, so this is probably going to be a little blander than usual, because the garlic and herb seasoning I had, it's a brand I really like. It's a Kingsford brand, but this is a Tuscan style. So that means it's got a little bit of Italian flavoring in it, and I didn't want to, I usually really sock it to it, but I didn't want to overdo the Italian. So, oops. Menu 5 again. Like I said, 9 is the highest level, and that's when you're browning or braising something in this pressure cooker. Most of the cooking levels, like especially if you're, is at 5. Oops, all right, there you go. So it will heat itself up to pressure, and it'll keep saying this PO5, and then when it hits pressure, then it'll start a 30-minute countdown. So what sometimes can take hours in the oven, if is maybe an hour, hour and a half most, and that's with the braising and the browning, to do a whole roast together. So this thing's awesome. He kept telling me he was going to get a pressure cooker, and you know, my mom would make certain things in the pressure cooker, and she did her canning with a pressure cooker, and I just, you know, it's like, Paul likes to have all the newest funky toys, and I don't mind having them, but then again, I don't like having stuff that I don't, I'm going to throw the rest of that away, but that I'm not going to use all of, or that I'm not going to get a good enough use out of. Like this steamer, this is our third steamer we've gone through. Ooh, I need to wash those. He steams kale. Ugh, nasty in it. And it makes such a mess. And we have white counters, so that means I have to use a lot of Clorox to clean up. to get the green stain off. But so anyway, this will be great. I'll show it again when it's done, and I've taste tested it, and then I'll compile these and get them out to you guys. All right. So thanks for listening, even about the depression stuff. And I promise to try to address that more, but that really just depends on my comfort level from day to day. Maybe we'll take a look and see how it's very cloudy and cool today. See how the garden's doing. Yesterday I got up to 95, but today it's like, I think the high is 74. So it's going to be a little bit cooler this week, but that might be a good time to go ahead and repot those tomatoes. We'll see. I wanted to give them a good 3, 4, maybe a week outside in their little baby pots while they're still growing as infant tomatoes to get acclimated to outside. I'm not always, same with, just like gardening, same with following recipe directions. I kind of do things the way you're supposed to, and then I change them up a little bit to my liking. So something like that that's kind of exotic that I've grown from seed in the house, I'm going to play a little bit safer with. So I wanted them to get to a healthy size inside. When it got warm enough and sunny enough, they'll go outside, let them get acclimated to that, and then I'll put them in their hanging pots. Because at first I have to go out and hang all my hangers. So that means I get to use the drill. Yay! Alright, y'all. I'll talk to you later. Bye.